Halloween, their third annual one, where I talk about all the horror movies and horror TV shows of this year or past years. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Joyride, released in 2001. Joyride, not the one that was released this year, is directed by John Dull and is written by Clay Travers, who also created Silicon Valley with Mike Judd, and is also written by J.J. Abrams. Yes, that J.J. Abrams. And the movie stars the great late Paul Walker, Steve Zahn, and Lily Sobieski, who I really miss as an actress. She's been gone for years in Hollywood, and I really miss her. She didn't pass away; she's retired from acting, and I really miss her. She's a good actress. And also stars Ted Levine, who you might know as Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs, but as a Monk fan, I know him as Lieutenant Stottlemyre. So, the movie is essentially about a brother. He said two brothers who go on a road trip together. Well, essentially, the two brothers. One is basically Paul Walker is trying to go see his childhood friend who he hoped to rekindle a relationship with, while he bails out his brother out of jail, played by Steve Zahn. And then, of course, on their way, Steve Zahn buys the CB radio and convinces Paul Walker to prank one of the truck drivers out there, who is called Rusty Nail, and pretend to be Candy Cane, this woman who he tricks into meeting up at a hotel and to dupe some asshole at the hotel. And basically, it turns out to be one harmless joke that turns into, like, this guy gets his jaw ripped out and everything, left for dead. And then, of course, then the truckers after them throughout the whole movie, and just because of this one joke that went too far. And I do like that idea about how a joke going too far. Essentially, when is enough? Like, this is literally, like, the whole movie is the trucker is basically going after them for that. And there is even a funny scene where the trucker, basically for public humiliation, for the trucker being humiliated, wants them to walk into a diner naked, which I really laughed at. I love that. It's so funny. They're walking butt ass naked into a diner, in which, like Steve Zahn tells the guy on the radio, if we hang dong, we're literally gonna go to jail. And like the truckers doesn't care because he wants them to be publicly humiliated, and just like they have to order 6 cheeseburgers or 12, 6 apiece, and so they have to go 12 cheeseburgers. And he's like, "Do you want fries with that?" And then the manager's thinking this is like some kind of college prank. I mean, seriously, this literally what made me laugh. Like that scene made me laugh. And the movie is really good. Like there's a lot of great ideas in this movie, and I could tell J.J. Abrams got his inspiration from Steven Spielberg's Duel, because that movie has a very similar premise about a trucker is after this guy, and we never see the trucker, which they do in this movie, keep the trucker in the shadows. You kind of see him now, but their intention was to keep him in the shadows, because like if you're watching this on VHS or DVD, you probably couldn't see the trucker. And that was kind of the idea, is to make it like the trucker's not the focus, the truck is the focus. Just like with Duel. I do like also that there's the idea of the background storytelling. Like for instance, like I love Jeepers Creepers, and so there's a lot of background storytelling where if you look in the background, if you're not focused on the main character, but you're looking in the back of them, you see a lot of things that are happening that us as audience members are seeing. But we're not meant to see. But like if you're watching in the background, you can see. And so this movie has that. For instance, the truck is always there in the movie. Like the truck is always, Rusty Nail is always there. And I watched it twice today. I watched it once with by myself, and then I watched it with my aunt. I was like, "Hey, you want to watch this movie?" And she goes, "Yeah, sure." And we watched this movie, and my uncle was there, who was also a truck driver, and he did point out there's no way a truck could do this, this, and this. That truck would not be able to jump over into that cornfield. There's no just point there's no way that truck would like once it lost its cab, it's done. It's like and so yeah, I do like though the idea that the truck is there the whole time and everything, and yeah, there is some impossibilities about this movie, and like I do like the besides the diner, I do also like the third act and everything, where like the Rusty Nail essentially goes and takes Leela Sobieski, and basically puts because the idea is the reason they're having to go do the diner and all that stuff, because originally after they're being pranked and everything, the Rusty Nail basically kidnaps one of their friends, and then tells them meet me in a cornfield, and then he kidnaps the other friend and puts a shotgun to her face, and so basically like they have to rescue her, but then if they open the door, she gets her head blown off, and so basically they and he's putting like these little things, like hints and stuff, like what not to do and to do. And I like that. It's really great storytelling about this. And I just think that third act is intense. Especially when the truck's coming at them, and how Steve Zahn's on, like, his knee is caught, and like he's literally, like, there's cops banging on the doors, and you're like, oh my god, the tension's building. They got to bang on that door. If they open that door, she's gone. And Paul Walker's trying to save his brother because the truck is coming at them in the backfield, and I'm just like, that is just such a good third act pacing. And then of course, there's the fake out ending. By the way, spoilers if you've never seen this movie. But the fake out ending also, I just don't like about it being like, oh, it's not this person, it's this. I hate when they do that, but I understand this was not the intentional ending. You see, J.J. Abrams, and then the movie was completely different third act, where originally the guy, like, there was no hotel sequence. It was supposed to be like, basically, like, I think they were supposed to, the hotel sequence was minimum. And then, of course, they end up having to go back home, and then the trucker kidnaps the girl. And then, of course, they have to, like, fight the trucker, like, where he's driving the truck, and then the brother sacrifices himself, and Paul Walker ends up with her at the end. Like, but then, of course, I mean, and the sad thing is, test audiences like the movie. Usually, when you do a test audience screening, the audience don't like it, so you have to fix the ending. Like, for instance, Final Destination had a test audience, and they didn't like the ending, so they fixed it, made it a better ending, what we got now. So, well, this one had good endings, and I don't understand why they kept changing it. It never explains. I looked it up. I'm like, why did they change the ending? That would have been fine too. I mean, I like this movie as it is, but like, I could see that ending being a good ending. But I think what it is a studio executive probably saw the movie and was like, I don't like this movie. I think it could be better. And so then they went and changed it. And then apparently every time they would do a test screening, it would just do better and better. They don't understand why. So they just really couldn't rely on test, and they had to make their own, I guess, assumption, and just made it how it is. And so they did this. And I imagine, like, I understand J.J. probably was frustrated, and so was the director, John Dole, because they had to keep reshooting and redoing. And also the voice of, Rusty Nail is Ted Levin, but he's not the actor physically portraying the trucker, Rusty Nail. It's a different actor. And in fact, there is some things I don't like about that, okay? For instance, the truck, okay, he sounds nothing like, for instance, the guy, when he's holding, at one point, Steve Zahn's face and says, watch, this is my favorite part. Yeah, it's like, that is not Rusty Nail's voice. And so I hate that. And it always confused me as a kid. I'm like, are they brothers? Are they working together? Is Rusty Nail, like, is he like, is the brother just helping him? Does this guy die and then Rusty Nail's still out there? I mean, I never understood that until, like, watching this movie. I'm like, no, it's just continuity issues. And then, of course, the truck impossibilities also, I did cover that. For instance, like when my uncle was describing, when there's a cool scene where Rusty Nail drives through an ice truck, and he chased them after him. Like, there's no way. That's what my uncle's like. There's no way that would have happened. Like, his hubcap would have came off, and he said the cap would have came off. All that stuff would have came off, and he would have been just screwed. Like, they would have got away. There's no way he would have been able to keep pursuing them. And also, when they go in the cornfields, there's no way he can drive in that cornfield, especially, he said, because the way the corn's higher, and he would never have been able to get his truck through there. Just like, but I understand you have to turn your brain off and use the impossibilities, because there is a lot of things that truck cannot do. Especially, like, I'm watching the movie earlier by myself, I'm like, why don't they just turn this way? A truck cannot make a sharp turn like that. If it makes a sharp turn, it's going to flip. I mean, and I just think that's crazy, And, I don't like the love triangle, because the idea is Paul Walker's in love with this girl. And then when the brother comes in the picture, now he thinks because she's pretty, he's likes her too, and then he tries to flirt with her and all that stuff, and to where it basically creates like a love triangle, and I don't like that. And in fact, the studio actually shot 2 endings where she gets either with one of the brothers, like either she gets with Steve Zahn or Paul Walker, but I guess the studio decided not to use that because like it's a kind of like a horror film. We don't want a love triangle in this movie. And also, there's a scene where at the end where Paul Walker is literally like, don't shoot me, like after he goes to rescue his not girlfriend, and like the truck's coming at Steve Zahn and his brother. I'm like, he's like, look, don't shoot me, but I'm gonna go back there. And I'm like, there's no way they would not have shot him. Okay, to them, they think you have a shotgun, and that you literally just tried to kill her. And so you running away, they're going to shoot you and ask questions later. They are not, especially in like the middle of nowhere, your ass is getting shot. I'm sorry, Paul Walker, but your ass is getting shot. There's no way there's guys like, hey, stop right there. You know, that does not work that way. But other than that, I did enjoy this movie. It's an older film. It was J.J. Abrams, I think, third film at the time, or fourth film. You know, he wrote this. He not directed. John Dole did. And so I really like this movie. I could see this movie getting remade in like 5 years. I don't hope it don't, because it's such a good film. I know there are direct-to-video sequels that are not good, that J.J. Abrams and John Dole and, you know, the Clay Tavern had nothing to do with. They're just like, you know, just direct-to-video movies that Fox was like, hey, let's make direct-to-video films. These were made like, what, like 2006 or 2007? And nothing to do with the first one. They're not even that good. I do recommend this movie highly. If you like Duel, I would say you could do this Duel and this movie as a double feature, because it kind of reminds me, like, there's three movies I thought about watching this movie: The Hitcher from the original, from the 80s, this movie, and Duel. I can see someone doing that, because it basically is like the, you know, rural area where you're on the road. It's basically, I always call it the highway trilogy of terror. You know, like you have The Hitcher, you have Duel, and then you have this movie. I mean, it's just creepy. It kind of makes you think twice about, you know, like just going, you know, driving on the highway, you know, at night. And so I really like these movies. These are great film. This is a great film. Joyride is fantastic. I highly recommend it. If I had to give this movie a grade, I would give it an A. Thank you so much.
So are you still good, or need me to drive?